Very disappointed that before I got into the really good stuff, my mic cut out. So I was making a video where I'm humble. You can go watch the video that's currently titled, I Need a Lip Reader, to see the beginning of that. For now, just, I guess, get to the point. It often doesn't seem like I am humble for two reasons. One reason is that the brain did not evolve to be able to assess humility, or for that matter, goodness, or for that matter, open-mindedness. So for those three, typically for goodness, it's how many smiles and how many moments we, the fewer the better, felt uncomfortable with the person. And that's pretty much our calculation for how nice or how good someone is. And I rack them up, those moments. Another for open-mindedness, it'll be, how much you feel, or how much nodding there is maybe, or it could be literally how many yeses you hear. So anyway, we take shortcuts for things like that. So that's one reason. It's because our interpretive mechanisms for judging humility are not very good, and why would they be? They aren't even good for lie detecting. And that I can understand. We could have, there's enough information in the face to determine that. So, that could have evolved. But humility, open-mindedness. Okay. The second reason is that because often what we're talking about is the mind, because that's what I talk about. Two reasons for that. One reason because I'm autistic ADHD, or just ADHD, I don't know, whatever, but that's my thing. And the other reason is because that's the thing, right? That's what you are, that's what I am. We are all brains, right? We are minds, right? We are inside of this skull. We've got these like ball things attached to us so that we can interpret certain visual information, get some light bounced off, judge some shapes and colors, and so on. Every year, the process of you opening your mouth is a process that originated and is orchestrated by you, a brain. Okay? It sends signals down to the mouth. The thing you say is a thing that existed here that was then sent to Broca's area for speech production, right? So you, when you're listening to me, right? You or brain are listening to me. These words are coming out, going here, tickling your hairs there, your ear hairs, your hears, right? Being interpreted by your inferior, well, not really interpreted, but your inferior colliculus. There's going to be a little activity there coming from here, but mostly the interpretation is going to be Wernicke's area in the temporal lobe, right? So you are our brain. Every thought, feeling, impression, memory, judgment, interpretation, reaction, right? Now, reaction might be the only difference. If you touch a hot stove, your perception of the heat is the brain, but the movement from your hand away, that might be just a spinal reflex, right? So if we just talk about your central nervous system, it's everything except for things that are just handled by the peripheral nervous system. So reflexes. But even reflexes, something, you see a sudden flash of light and you look over there, that's going to be your superior colliculus that draws our attention to that. And so then what the brain's going to do is it's going to take these bad boys, contract these muscles to pull them up there, to shift the visual field over there to where the source came from in the periphery. So it's in the periphery. Now we need to shift the acute visual field, So it was in the visual field, but in the peripheral visual field, received by the rods and cones, sent to the brain for interpretation. Superior colliculus says, yo, you rods just said that there's like a thing over there. Okay, so then the vagus nerve, I think, is going to contract some muscles to pull like this. Okay, all this information interpreted by here, all this information interpreted by here, right? Okay. Well, I think I lost my train of thought, but it's okay because before I lost you and before I lost me, I probably lost me first, but, so I'm sorry. But thank you for, keeping up. So I apologize for that, but I'm just going to go back to where I last remember we were both definitely on the same page, which is that, I talk about the mind. The mind is everything, okay? That water bottle right there, that's an image in my mind right now, okay? Okay, right now there's an actual water bottle in my member, but this thing is in my mind, okay? The color, the interpretation, it is being rendered in me, in my mind. It exists outside, but I'm in a skull right now, right? So there is a representation of it in my mind, okay? The mind is everything, okay? So I don't like when people say to me, well, yeah, but there are other, important fields. That's not true. That's not true, okay? There's math, there's psychology, and there's physics. That's it. Everything else matters, but those things are fundamental, okay? You can't get very far in anything without math, and you'll get a fuckload farther if you start looking at the math of it, comparing numbers. You can't understand anything if you don't understand how atoms and their parts, or whatever. I'm not a physicist. How those things are interacting. Can't do chemistry, can't do biology, can't do astronomy, okay? You're not going to get very far anyway. And once you understand the physics of something about the world, you get a fuckload farther, the math and physics of it, okay? And you really need the physics. And then, right. Sorry, we don't need to talk about physics anymore. We talked about math and physics. Now, what about psychology? Talking, thinking, understanding, doing physics, doing math. Those are all mind events. Believing in God, praying, arguing, loving, regretting, choosing. Those are all mind events. Hearing, speaking. It doesn't get more fundamental because you are a brain, right? If I were talking to my fucking chair, I could say, oh yeah, the only thing that matters is like physics and the world, or maybe I could say there are a whole bunch of things that matter. But if I'm talking to a brain, then what's the most fucking important thing for it to understand? Sorry, I got worked up in my previous video. I think the audio hadn't cut out yet when I was being nice. So, all right. So, here's the thing. In my previous video, the audio cut out. Here's why I'm humble. Because I know that I'm wrong. It was much more dramatic in the first time, but it's because I know that I'm wrong. And how do I know that I'm wrong? Because I know that I'm a human brain. And I'd love to find someone else who could accept that they are a brain, they are inside of a skull, and their mechanisms were written by evolution, and also their mechanisms for how to take in new information were written by evolution. The brain has to know it is a brain, or at least the brain knowing it's a brain makes a ton is really useful in the brain's function. especially, sorry, because I'm kind of trying to remember how I said in the previous video. The brain, currently the brain doesn't know it's a brain. You don't know that you are a brain, okay? Or maybe not, maybe you do, and that's amazing, and that makes me so happy, so that's really cool. So now I am in here, and I'm talking to you, and you're in there. That's awesome. And so then if you know that, then, oh, well, then let's chat, dude. But anyway, you're not going to be one of the people who said that I wasn't being humble, because those people don't know that they are brains, and they're upset that I'm insisting that they are brains. So they just keep like saying stuff. These cause and effect reactions that were arranged in advance by evolution based on what tended to be advantageous for the genome, and they're using that network. That network is the same network responding to all of our political and intellectual and moral questions and words. Oh man, the previous video I had this cool thing about language, whatever. So, that's all. We can just leave it there, I guess. I'm humble because I know that I'm a brain, and so I didn't evolve to talk about any of these things. And I didn't evolve to be able to talk about any of these things. I have a sense of words. I have an illusion of understanding. I have words that are coming out right now that all seem to make sense to me right now. And I'm basically, the whole having these developed ideas is an illusion. The best thing, well, this is what I said in the other video, the best thing that I can hope for is to maybe contribute something new, something better than what was previously said, either by me or just what was previously said in the world. So I'm just crossing my fingers that I get lucky enough for these interpretive processes that can barely determine whether a fruit is good or bad to eat, by seeing someone throw up after it, or it can, whatever, that did not at all evolve for this. I'm just hoping that it can put something out that is some kind of new understanding. Then, in order for humans to change, in order for the brain to be a better brain that's able to, again, keep up with language, keep up with all this morality and politics and all this shit that we don't understand, that doesn't at all come naturally to us, and that we pretend does, that we honestly believe does, just because we have words for it, words that you can't even define, right? That we would have to think, what does that word mean? I always talk about reason. Anyway, so if we can introduce to the system, to the brain, something other than the normal environment that it gets, so internet, social media, those are new things, but those don't give the brain much information about what it is, right? Except this particular YouTube channel and some others. So if we want the brain to be a better brain, let's teach it what it is, right? So I am teaching myself what I am, me, a brain, right? Using this finger to point up where I've learned that I am, right? I mean, I'm here. There is no I, really. This is Eris part 1, Eris part 2, Eris part 3, Eris part 4, Eris part 5, Eris part 6, etc. And we, really, use stuff like this, or stuff like this, right? Or stuff like this, right? Or stuff like this. Actually, I don't think I have read this one yet, have I? Oh, yes, I have. Stuff like this, right? Or stuff like, I hope you can see these titles. The Art of Thinking Clearly, okay? And I'm learning what I am and how I function and what we could maybe do about it to function a little bit more in line with the demands of 2023, okay? The only way to do that is to learn about you, okay? And you're not special. There's a whole lot of literature about you. Okay? So there we go. I think that's good. Loved my video earlier. If you lip read, it has been uploaded. Please watch it. So, just want to, any last thoughts? No, I think that's how we ended it last time, and that's why we were so pleased. It's just, we made a really compelling argument for why a thing needs to learn about itself. So, and why, that's everybody's first step. Gosh, I'm a brain. Okay, I'm in this body. Okay, I've got apparently these like balls or something that, okay, see things. Or that send me like light information. Okie dokie, okie dokie. Now, can I trust this? Am I seeing everything? No, I'm not? Oh, okay. What? Atoms are mostly empty? What'd you? No way. Really? Okay. Because I'm using the eye. I just, that I'm, assuming I just woke up using this eye thing, and I'm actually not seeing on the other side. But you're telling me that it's mostly empty space. That's so wild. Okay. Okay, that's cool. Oh, I'm only a certain part of the spectrum of wavelengths is what triggers any activity at all here. Okay, that's cool. Okay, all right. So then these ones and zeros or whatever. Then what happens? Oh, it gets sent here. Wait a minute, hold on. What'd you just say? You just said that when I'm looking at something, and then I glance at something else, that this is suppressing the information I actually get? It doesn't send me the blur? Alright, because I evolved that way, because it would be tough to, if every time I looked around, I was plagued, as the author said, in a video that's been published, the one about The Wizard of Eye. So I'm not even getting that information. Okay. Oh, so when I look over, when I pull my eye muscles to look at that thing, it, as that's happening, I'm actually already working with an image of what's anticipated. So part of me, like, extrapolated from context and stuff what this might be, and that's what I'm looking at now until this stuff stops suppressing and actually gives me something more to work with. And then that's why sometimes you think you see a thing, you're sure you see a thing, and but then you look and it's like, oh no, it's not that at all. I see, okay. Oh, fuck, so teach me more. Wait a minute, I have certain interpretive processes that were useful in my evolution, but now I'm like applying them to moral philosophy, and that's not what they were there for, and so I say a whole lot of stupid shit about moral philosophy or religion or the origins of something or whatever, because I'm using mechanisms. Okay, so what are the mechanisms I evolved? I see. Okay, what were the natural selective pressures for my ancestors? Okay, they need to do this. They need to have a strong preference for people who were in their community and a strong distrust of people outside their community. Oh shit! So I gotta watch out for that. Okay, and then I have a mechanism for determining who's in and what is. Do we know what I evolved to use as information for whether someone's in my community or out? Okay, blah, blah, okay. There's illusion. Sometimes I'll think I understand something just because no alarms have gone off, because I'm not actually programmed to sense whether I understand something. So I rely on whether I feel familiar with the thing, as in whether the words don't surprise me, even if I don't really understand their relationships to each other. Or it's just a matter of whether I feel really confused by anything. So how I know whether I understand something is basically I just check, was I shocked by it? And if there wasn't anything triggered, like what the fuck in my mind, then I presume to understand it. Oh, that's not good. Well, that's going to be tricky. Okay, but thank you for telling me. That's the illusion of understanding, but there's also an illusion of memory. Memory is a reconstruction. So this body that I'm in might not have actually done the things that correspond to the images and the stories that I tell them to think. Okay, so what have we learned about the mechanisms of how the real behavior and all that stuff gets sort of saved? It doesn't really get saved. And every time I recall it, it gets, oh gosh, okay. Holy smokes. I'm 32 years old. I had no idea. Okay, wow. A lot of shit to learn, huh? Okay. And what did you recommend? You said this book has 99 chapters. Oh, look at this one. Number 15, Why You Systematically Overestimate Your Knowledge. I systematically overestimate my knowledge and abilities? So, like, every time that means that I'm like, oh, I think I'm pretty good at that. Or, actually, even if I say I'm not too bad at that, that could be an overestimation then? Oh, it probably is. I evolved too often overestimate my knowledge and abilities. Okay, I gotta keep that in mind. So, okay, so part of me, so which means that now every time I send out, I think I'm good at that. I gotta set up another. Another part of me has to go. Oh, but are you actually? Okay, cool. Thank you. Well, now that I know this, when I hear myself say it, hopefully it'll then trigger some sort of internal skepticism. Okay, cool. Effort justification, what's this? Oh, like when you try really hard, I'm just gonna think that I like did a good thing or something? Actually, I don't really know what this. Groups are effort justification is a special case of cognitive dissonance. To have a hole punched in your chest for a simple merit badge borders on the absurd. John's brain compensates for this imbalance by overvaluing the pin, hyping it up from something mundane to something semi-sacred. All of this happens unconsciously and is difficult to present. So you're saying that if I feel pain, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's no good. But because another part of me is like, this badge is good, then I'm going to say that this pin then is very good so that it balances out for the pain that it caused or something? Is that kind of what you're saying? What's the Forer effect? Oh, how to expose a charlatan. That's the Forer effect. So that's something in my interpretation that makes it hard for me that was why I fall for a Forer. Wait, now what's this twaddle tendency? It says if you have nothing to say, say nothing. Oh, if I don't really understand something, I'll have a tendency to fill in with words and just be loquacious and just talk and try to use more significant academic language in order to buttress the ethos that I seek to impart on my share viewer. Oh, I gotta watch out for that then.